Hello, authors. My name is Meg Trask. So, on the 31st, I wrote a blog post about how to write what you know. The blog post is titled 4 Ways to Write What You Know. So, this is a super common topic of conversation, topic of debate when it comes to the writing community. Everyone has sort of a different idea about what it might mean and how you employ it. And I would really like to take a closer look at that today. So my blog post starts with some common sayings. Curiosity killed the cat. Great minds think alike. Blood is thicker than water. These sayings are not complete. When you look at them in their entirety, the meaning actually shifts to connote something a little bit deeper and a little bit more, something that makes you have to think a little bit more. Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. Great minds think alike, but fools rarely differ. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Blood is thicker than water. So let's take that one for instance. When you say blood is thicker than water, what it sounds like it means is that family is more important than friends. But it doesn't make a lot of sense in that regard, mostly because what is the water representing in that saying? It makes a lot more sense when you pull the whole saying together. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, meaning that the connections you choose to form are more important than the ones that are put upon you naturally. And so with Write What You Know, I like to add a little something after that makes the saying feel a little bit more complete. While Write What You Know does make sense in and of itself, I feel like it's a lot more accurate and a lot more true to the spirit of the thing when you say, write what you know, you must write. And I quote Ursula K. Le Guin all the time when I'm talking about this, and she says, write what you know, but remember you may know dragons. What this means is that you have to draw from your life experience to write things that you understand, things that are familiar and that are accessible to you. And if you need a better example, let's talk about, say, loss. Loss is a really good and not that silly comic meme thing that everyone jokes about. I mean, actually losing someone that is close to you. If you have never lost a loved one, it is almost impossible for you to write about the experience of losing a loved one. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a mother who's lost a child or a child who's lost a parent. It can be anyone that you are very close to, your best friend. It can be a sibling, a grandparent, someone that you have formed a very close bond with, blood of the covenant, and no longer is with you for either because they passed away or because you had a falling out. And once you have explored those feelings and once you have opened yourself up to feeling them and to getting close to them, when you're at that point, you understand the emotions that go with loss. And then you are able to, from there, write about similar experiences. So maybe you have a friend or a sibling who passed away when you were very young. You are then able to write from the perspective of someone whose friend, sibling, parent, cousin, anyone who is not in their life because of whatever reason. And not just loss, but anything that you've experienced that's like that. So let's say that you have you've gone on a road trip. Now let's say this road trip took place across the tropics or the desert or whatever. And you know what the specific difficulties that go with road tripping through a hot climate are. You want to write a road trip that takes place during the winter. Now, maybe you've never road tripped in the winter, but you've road tripped in the summer, and you've experienced winter, kind of depending on where you're from. You can take those experiences, those combined experiences, let you know what it would be like. And you can draw that from anything. So my first point in the blog is to carefully consider what you know. Think about things, experiences that you have had. Think about encounters that you have had, friendships you have had, trips you've taken, foods you've eaten, sights you've seen, smells you've smelled, and put them all into that pot of things that you know. My second point was to write from the heart. This one is a little bit more complicated and something that I have personally been struggling with the past couple of years. Once you get into writing and you start to learn all of these rules and all of these tips and tricks and guidelines, things like write what you know, don't end a sentence with a preposition, these things can cloud you. These things can make you write with your brain, which is fine, but some magic is lost when you are writing intellectually instead of emotionally. I am an editor. It's what I do for a living. It's my job to take a garbled mess of words and lay them out and smooth everything over so that it makes logical sense. If you are writing from that logical part up here the whole time, there's a very good chance that you're going to lose something in the process. One thing I have been working really hard on lately and trying to sort of give my writing new life is to write from my heart. So I sit down and I meditate sometimes and I put on some music and I think, I am writing this for me. It doesn't matter if that's true or not. It doesn't matter if I'm writing it for a blog post or for a zine entry or for my book. I have to, in that moment, just be writing it for myself. A good way to practice this for me has been writing fan fiction. I cut my teeth on fan fiction. It's sort of getting back to my roots and understanding what made me really want to tell stories in the first place. And that's going back and seeing all the things that give me joy and that make it fun for me to write. And I put aside all of my concerns. I turn my editor off because she's very annoying when I'm trying to draft. And I just write from my heart. I write with my emotions. I think, what would make me laugh in this scenario? What would make me cry? What would make me angry? What would make me ecstatic? And I put that on the paper, and I can then worry about how it comes across to the audience at a much later point in time. But you have to put aside that logic and you have to allow yourself to be emotional in your writing. And I think if you write from your heart, then you will find things that you know and that you understand. And from there, you will be writing what you know. The next thing that's on my list is to write what you know to be wrong or what you don't know at all. A really fun thing that actually my friend Victoria did, who is a grad student, PhD grad student, she, for one of her earlier papers, wrote a paper about strong bonds, and she used the term very literally, describing the muscles in the cells and how often they go to the gym. And obviously these things are all very silly and don't actually apply to the things that she's studying. But what it did was it allowed her to examine what she really knew and understood about the subject. So BuzzFeed, for instance, did a video where men and women switch places for a day. And what we see in that is highlighting the differences in the way that men and women behave and the way that they're treated in social settings. And all good satire obviously has some truth, and then we examine the human condition within that satire, which is what the BuzzFeed video was. But when we write what we know to be false, obviously women are not don't behave in the way that they behaved in this video. It's something that we very much more commonly see from men and vice versa. So we're looking sort of subversively, and we're trying to flip tropes, and we're trying to understand what we don't understand, see things in a sort of different light. And so when you write things that you know to be incorrect or to be wrong, you are helping yourself gain an understanding and sort of clear the debris and see what you do understand, what you do know. And this will help you find your knowledge and to write what you know. Last, but probably most important of all, is to write about the things that you find important. Write about the things that you have a passion for. So even if you don't know everything about the subject at hand, write about it. Do your research. Call someone who does. Look up someone who does. Visit if you can. I know it's not always possible, but you can find ways to learn more about it. And when you dedicate yourself and you dedicate hours of your craft and of studying to learning about this thing, then guess what? It goes from something you don't know to something that you know. Now, there is a danger there to doing that specifically, because what can happen is you can dive into the rabbit hole of writing or learning something new, and rather than ever writing, you are researching and researching and researching forever. So you do need to be aware of when to stop and how to learn just enough to write about the thing. But it's a great way, writing about a topic is a great way to learn about it, and it's a great way to get to know something that you didn't know about before. There's a very good reason that essays are part of curriculum everywhere, because when you write an essay, you're forced to understand something better. You're forced to put it into your own words. I've recently been hosting a show called Tribble Bites on Sci-Fi for Me, which is why I'm wearing my Star Trek t-shirt and why I'm set up to film today. And one thing that I'm learning is that when I go to write my own news segment for the show, I have to thoroughly understand every piece of information that I'm relaying, so that when I do relay the information, it's coming from a place of genuine knowledge and understanding. I'm not just parroting information. I'm not just echoing it back. I am absorbing it, I'm considering it, and I'm putting it into my memory banks. This is something that I find joy in. It's something that I find to be important. And so when I go to write about it, I'm learning about it, and I'm adding it to my knowledge bank, and you can do that as well. When I was in college, and I talk about this in my book, Write That Book You Keep Talking About. When I was in college, we had a term-long paper. We had to pick one topic, and we had to stick with it through the entire semester. And then at the end, our final was a 12-page paper on the subject that we had chosen. So we had many smaller papers leading up to that big one, and by the time we wrote the big one, we shouldn't have that much research left to do because we'd been writing essays on the topic throughout the entire semester. So you can do that as well. Start small. Start writing articles for a website. Start writing articles for a blog. Start keeping a journal about things that you've learned. And as you progress and as you learn more about this thing, you will eventually find that you know it. Thank you so much for watching today. I really hope that you check out Novel News at overhaulmynovel.com/novel news. You can also read the blog at overhaulmynovel.com/blog. I am a full-time editor, and if you have any questions or would like to see a video about any specific topic, shoot me an email at editor@overhaulmynovel.com or drop a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button to make sure you don't miss any videos. Till next time.